Happy Friday, everybody. Nick Slavic here, proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. Also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a craftsman, an entrepreneur, and a lover of houses to answer any questions we have about painting. For homeowners, this is a chance for you to ask the largest forum of professional painters live on the internet anything you've ever wanted to know about painting. Simple stuff. What brush should I use? What primer should I use? And for pros, you know what you're here for. We can talk business, entrepreneurship, apprenticeship, hiring, marketing, book work, anything like that. Today, I'm going to be joined by the John Busick, a good friend of mine from the industry. He runs a super upstanding painting business, awesome entrepreneur, and we're going to be talking about some hiring stuff, some onboarding stuff, and some training, initial training of people here. We'll go through the PDCA contractor question of the week, and I will bring, let's see if I can bring John on here. We'll see. So we'll let John kind of explain what his business looks like and things like that. And then we'll get to a bunch of your live questions. So kindest thing you guys can do for this show is to share it with other people. Send it out there into the world. There he is. How's it going, man?
How we doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
All right. So I got about 2 minutes worth of book work here, and then we'll get to it.
Do it up.
Okay, so thank you guys for watching this show. The kindest thing you can do is share it. Anytime you have a question, type it in down below. We'll get to them kind of intermittently, and then definitely at the end of the show, I usually scroll back through and see who has stuff. Also, if today is my last working day before I go on my Northeast tour to 4 states to bring the master's classes to the people. If anybody wants any information, I'll be leaving Sunday night. We're going Monday through Thursday next week at the PDCA's webpage. They were kind enough to put it right on the front of the homepage. You basically click on Meet Nick Slavic on his Northeast tour here, and this will take you to how to register. We have a whole bunch of information. I'm taking 2 master's classes a day to 4 states, so we're going to be talking about cabinet enameling, millwork enameling, and new construction finishes, and my niches in those. And the 4 states are listed here, and where they are, and how to register. So I am leaving Sunday night. It'll be a whirlwind. I'll be driving a new state every day, and it'll be very interesting to see. So, John.
How we doing?
Thanks for joining me today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Great question.
So we're gonna do some a quick overview of some hiring, some onboarding, and some initial training of people, and maybe that'll tie into the PDCA contractor question of the week. They send me a question every week, and let me pull this guy up. Okay, so do you have team leads or supervisors? If so, can you explain their training process? Let's see. What are the standards and how do you uphold them? So you have a much larger business than mine. I'm sure you got tons of supervisors and stuff. What are your kind of thoughts on this?
Nick, don't give me so much credit. Yeah, training supervisors is a hard thing. I'd say 99% of the time, we don't bring in a supervisor or crew leader from another company. They're all pretty much grown from within the system. So we farm it out within our own system here. So when I bring someone in, I typically try to find someone with less than 3 years experience. When they come with more than 3 years experience in our company, as you know, they come with some baggage usually.
Yeah.
And, we like to do it with our way. So I know a lot of people have certain ways of doing it in their company, and you kind of want to teach them from the beginning. So that's what we do at Bob Kunst Painting. It's you teach them from the beginning. They learn from the supervisor in front of them. Everyone that comes in our company actually gets a mentor assigned to them, who's usually a crew leader.
Nice.
And what they do is kind of teach them the way we do things. How do we clean a brush? How do we clean buckets? How do we load a truck? I mean, the very basics, but all of these little systems and efficiencies make you successful if everyone's on the same page. So that's kind of how we do it.
Yeah. And all the while, if you put them with somebody that you've trained yourself to train them, then the culture of the company will rub off on them. And it's sort of like they're absorbing the sign of how do we talk about our company? How do we act here? And it's because, it's not just the washing of the brushes. It's also, you got to be part of this thing that we're doing too.
Yeah, exactly. But it all starts with the little things, right?
Yeah,
When it
it's
all
huge.
starts with the little things when they first come in. So let's talk about that really quick. When we
Yeah.
bring someone on, we get them into the system, and they get to assign a mentor, and then we teach them the basics, right? The first few days is actually they hardly spend time on a job site with us.
Mm,
They actually learn how do we load a job, what are the sundries that we use, what is masking film. I mean, all these things, there are so many different parts of the industry that they need to quickly get up to speed. Where I think a lot of people fall short is they just throw them into the wolves, and what
yeah.
happens is you don't set them up for success, right?
Mm,
um, if you can teach them a lot of the basic terminology when they come in here, especially with someone that is super green, doesn't have any experience, I think what you do is you're giving them the power of knowledge to where
mm.
once they're out in the field, they have a little more confidence versus just deer in the headlights.
Yeah, that's true. And having some clear expectations for them doesn't hurt either, because a lot of these people, I think you and I are kind of the same mind, where we really like to find people that are still malleable. And sometimes if somebody doesn't know the trade, they may not know what success looks like. So sometimes showing them that and giving them some clear indicators helps too, and then pairing them, like you said, with a mentor or a first line supervisor, that can be directly translated to them.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so that's kind of how we onboard them. We do have a system in place with technology as well. Um, and we kind of get them into that system. There's a whole application piece to that. I'd say we're higher tech than most painting
Mm,
companies out there. Um, and I think people feel more confident, especially the millennials that are coming in the door. They like that aspect of it. They connect with that. And if you can apply the technical side of it, meaning more like computer programs, out to the field and match those two and marry it and be efficient with it, I think people respect that and want to stay with you, especially the younger people coming in.
I think they can relate, like you said, the younger people too, they can relate to that, because most of even their personal life is driven by a lot of technology and apps, and it's a real easy translation, and it's almost comforting, I think, to younger people to have that same sort of rubric and thing around them. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, as far as supervisors go, so in our company, once they kind of have, I'd say it's probably 3 years experience, they start moving into enough knowledge, depending on the person. Everyone's different, what kind of skill set they bring. But they start moving into kind of a junior crew leader role to where they can take on a few small jobs,
Hmm.
maybe with one person. And then as they get the routine of talking to the customer, communicating to us, the project with managing a job, they finally graduate onto running some of the larger work that we do when they have 5, 6, 7 guys
Mm.
on a project. So most of
Yeah,
that
definitely.
training is happening. Most of that training is happening out in the field, and you're working with the project manager, getting feedback. So we bring them in. I'd say we probably every few months I try to set someone aside and say, hey, this is what you do really well. This is the areas you need to work on. Without adequate feedback, how do they grow, right? We all need
That's true.
feedback. So that's a big
So
part of my job.
one question that I get all the time is, because I'm knee deep in apprenticeship and training, and it's sort of my life has turned into a devotion to that. People always ask, what's the quickest you can take somebody from never painted off the street into a painter who is autonomous, can work by themselves? And I always preface it by saying it depends on the person, but what is the quickest? Like, obviously, if somebody has the right personality, the right frame of mind, they meet your culture, they're going to be quicker. But what's the best case scenario for you, from off the street to, oh my God, he's painting and I don't have to check on him?
I'd say 2 years, two full seasons for me
Wow.
uh, to fully trust that
Yep. Yep.
without a crew leader ahead of them. It depends on the type of work you do too. We do a lot of, I'd say 60% of our business is about a lot of high-end residential.
Yep.
You have to have the skills to be able to work in that environment. Now our commercial division, yeah, it's a little bit easier. There's less knowledge there. But at the same time, on a commercial, if you're out by yourself, unless you're painting a few doors or just a small job, you're typically on a larger project and
Yeah,
running a crew. So,
that's true.
um, yeah, I think every situation is different.
Yep. And in the basic residential repaint thing, I've been querying a lot of people, and it seems that within a matter of weeks, if you have a fairly intense training program or at least a method for them to succeed, it seems like you can get somebody to paint interior walls by themselves to a very high degree within a matter of 2 to 3 weeks if you have the right system in place for them. So again, basic stuff to your stuff, and certainly your timeline speaks to your high standards and the work that you're doing too.
Again, I think you give us too much credit, Nick, but thank
Yeah, I think your level of autonomous person at 2 years, man, I would kill to have a bunch of 2 year people.
you. Keep it okay. So there is a culture aspect to that. We've been in
Yeah.
business since the late '50s. So I'm a fifth generation painting, fifth generation painter, third generation owner of our contracting
Mm.
business. So two of our guys just surpassed 35 years with the company,
Wow.
and they're still out in the field. And then the other, I'd say we have another 15 employees out in the field that have been with us at least 12 to 18 years. So
Wow.
we have a lot of senior staff here, which is very nice in a sense that we can groom the new people coming in. But at the same time, if you could put yourself in the shoes of a new person stepping into a company that way, it's a little intimidating.
Oh,
But the good news
absolutely.
is I really sell on that end. I really try to sell to the new people of like, hey, there is a career here. And obviously, people stick around for a reason. We treat you really well, and we want you to move up the food chain. So
Yeah. Oh, so
I'm always looking.
Parker Johnson, who's actually our apprentice of mine, he's asking about retention. So you find these good people, you put a lot of time into them. How do you keep them, John?
I think there's not one solid answer to that. I think overall, yes, well, we could go down the bullet points, but we
Yeah.
all know that, we provide, I'll just tell you what we do.
Yep.
We provide full benefits. That means health care for 100% for the employee, 50% for each family member.
Hmm.
We have a 401k profit sharing plan. We have a performance bonus plan. We pay an excellent rate per hourly rate. Some guys, you can earn a truck, so you get a company truck with a gas card. We provide all tools, brushes, everything you need, sprayers, all your clothing. We provide everything pretty much so you could be
Yeah.
successful is our goal. Is it expensive? Yes, but I think we make up for it on the other side on our service and quality. So.
Yeah, and just keeping people. I mean, the cost of retraining, if you had attrition where everybody only lasted 2 to 4 years, imagine starting that cycle over again. At that point, talking about a vehicle or healthcare is cheap compared to having to retrain an entire company in a 2 to 5 year cycle.
Absolutely. And what I also see is just treating people well, right? I mean, who wants to go to an environment every day that we spend majority of our time at work? Who wants to go to an environment where you're not that excited about? I mean, I'm I'm not. I'll throw it straight to you right now that painting is a difficult job day in and day out when you're out there.
Yep.
So if you're already set up for difficult in terms of physical labor, and if you can't provide a steady work environment with a positive attitude on a daily basis for your staff, then I think you're not going to be very successful.
So you mentioned performance incentives. Do you offer those for supervisors all the way down to your lower end painters or your newer painters, or is it just tiered? You have to hit a certain area.
You have to be a crew leader to
Mm-hmm.
receive a performance bonus. And the reason why we do it that way is I need motivation from the people wanting to move up. So if they want to
Yep.
hit a performance bonus, you need to go through the steps of becoming a crew leader. And once you're a crew leader, the way we do the performance bonus is basically on a report card. And it's a series of, it's like 7 different categories that we judge you on from management, as well as their peers also give them a report card, people that work underneath them. And it's based mostly on punctuality basics, right, of being successful at any work environment. Punctuality, attitude. There's a little bit of quality work in there, and there are production hours that we track for each project, so that is involved with that. But mostly it is feedback from our clients and ourselves and the staff. So we actually bonus out. We encourage people to work as many hours as they can for our company. So the way we do that is the performance is on your W-2. So at the end of the year, based on both reviews, we bonus out 2 to 5% of your full W-2 that you earn.
Wow! Holy cow!
Some guys are getting $5,000 to $7,000 bonuses every year. So we
That's
try
amazing.
to get there's a big incentive there. So
wow.
But
I'm really glad. I'm really glad to hear that it's that you put the human element into the bonus too. That it's not just how many projects did you bring in under budget this year, and you get a cut of that. It's nice to do a little bit of that, but also like the human side of it too. That's really interesting. I don't know that I've run across that too much.
Nick, we originally did the production hour thing, but we do a lot of T&M work too.
Yeah.
Contracts and stuff. And how does one guy that's not on a lot of T&M say, hey, I don't have a chance to bring it in on production? So
exactly.
There is that aspect. And we noticed that we're getting some callbacks on a lot of stuff where guys start cheating it to get the bonus. So we decided to say quality's involved there. Callbacks go against you. So there's a whole series. I could post it if we want to on here maybe at the end.
Oh, that's awesome. Jason Paris has a question. John or Nick, what type of carryover do you typically see going into the following spring at the point the current exterior season ends? Since each business volume is very different, maybe as a percentage of revenue. What type of carryover? I wonder if he's asking about amount of employees we carry over year to year. John, do you swing seasonally, or are you pretty steady throughout the year?
Yeah, we have probably every year we have 6 or 7 guys probably come that are seasonal, and the rest, I'd say 20 or so, 22 that stay full time.
Okay.
Obviously, in the painting world, we all know, for the people that are watching that aren't fully on painters, there is a seasonal aspect to this, and we kind of slow down the winter, which is why we all talk about the difficulty of getting winter work and really promoting that.
Which is pretty funny when I hear you talk about winter work. Because your winters are fabulous down there. To even hear you call it winter is funny. I love that, man. But no, and we're in the middle of day 82 so far here. So no, I think we had a little more attrition than I like this year, but I've been in a growth phase for 2 years. So it's hard to even say, like, we haven't had a steady number and dropped and grown. We've just been adding people. We've been throwing logs on the fire for 2 years. So I probably had 3 people that I really would have liked to carry over, but we had 22 at the peak of summer. We will probably have, we went down to as little as like 10 or 11, and we'll have 15 by the end of the year again. So yeah, if that helps, if that's what you're asking, Jason. Yeah. Oh, Jason was asking amount of dollars booked going into spring. Wasn't talking about employees. So how much when you hit the ground running for exterior season, as a percentage of your revenue, how much do you think you already have booked for the year in summer work?
We're typically around 30%.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I would say probably a 20 to 30% of the summer is usually booked by the time you start exterior painting, give or take.
Yeah, right now we're pretty much estimating the projects that go into next spring for exteriors right now. So
yeah,
we land a lot of work right now and push it to next spring, and then we're off and running. And we deal with that whole kids getting out of school thing for a lot of these repaints, residential repaints. But typically commercial folks have their budgets in place by then. So we start landing on a lot of those projects as well.
So Parker asks, John, do you see your employees out on the job to give them advice or motivation? And good question. Probably a better question, or a little more pointed, would be, what do you see your role in the company culture and building that company culture? Because if I understand it, it's generational. But are you may be at the helm by yourself here pretty soon, correct?
Yeah, my father and my uncle are still involved on a daily basis. The way we run our company, really quick, I should preface it with that, is you bid it, you get. So you're the estimator, you're the project manager, and then you have a crew leader on the project. And there's three of us that are doing that. But I oversee the whole company, both financial, admin, and then all employees. So I personally go out to each job. I try to go to all my jobs at least once a day, actually. Maybe
Wow, that's awesome.
and then I pull guys aside on the job. If it's really serious or I want to have a really serious sit down, I might take one out to lunch, or I might bring them into the office in the early morning and talk to them then. But typically it's happening on the job site. I pull them aside, take a walk, we'll walk the project and just, check in with them and get their feedback.
Okay. So if you were to never visit the field, what do you think you would be losing? Is visiting the field more for you to know the numbers but get the feel of what's going on out there, or is it more for the people to see you so you can get some culture out there? What's your thoughts?
I think it's all the above, Nick.
Yeah.
On that, so I have several reasons for it. I want not only my guys to see me involved in the company. I'm not just a paper pusher, and I'm not the top-down type management. I want to be out there. I want to hear their feedback. I want to hear what's going on in the field. I want to hear their problems. My job is I can't solve every problem, but I can help bring in the resources or steer people in the right direction. That's my role.
Nice.
I also want the customer to see me out on the job sites so they know that the owner is involved and not just sending crews out there. So it's a fine line. There is a maximum of that. Keep in mind, I am trying to grow our company. We're trying to double over the next 3 years.
Wow.
And so with that goal in mind, I won't be able to continue to do that, but I'll pick and choose jobs that I can do in the future, and as I will encourage my project managers as we hire more and more to do the same.
And speaking of the managers and supervisors and stuff, and you're talking about doubling, what does it look like? How many people do you have in charge? How many people are revenue producing painters? What are we looking at?
Say that again? I missed that.
Oh, so you talk about doubling the business, and we're knee deep in talking about supervisors and managers. How many people are out there supervising? I mean, how many people are out there painting? What are we looking at right now that you're trying to double?
Right now, I'm trying to double the field staff and bring on 3 additional project managers.
Wow.
So,
holy cow.
That is a 3 to 5 year goal, keep in mind.
Yep.
That's not happening next year. So my goal is, over the next year, is to bring on an additional 7 painters. And at that point, I think we can handle that management-wise. But at the same time, I want to groom a project manager during that process, so then we can grow again the following year. So there's a roadmap for us, and every company is different.
And do you think you will stick with this, you win it, you get it sort of thing? Or do you think sooner or later you might have a separation between the sales force and the actual management force?
Great question. No, I'm actually trying to make a plan. I'm working with Art right now. I'll give a little plug to Art. And I'm working with him to kind of work through that, because right now what you see is, and our current system is, you get really busy estimating, so you land all this work, and then you get the work, and now you got to manage it, and then sales fall. So it's this whole yin and yang thing, and you kind of get stuck in the trenches of that, and you can't keep a focus and keep steady Eddie.
Yeah. So in an ideal world, would you have a dedicated sales force and then hand it off to a project management force?
Yeah, and thank God. I'm going to do a shameless plug right now, but it's reality in our company. I created the system called Workglue. It's a heavy project management system, but it is an all-in-one system that pushes sales all the way through to project management, scheduling, and tracking your employees. And what it does is it's really allowed, instead of our company, to shift to that model, because now everyone's communicating on a single platform. And I'm able to take that now, and without having to fully go out to the job site, I can communicate through video, photos, and other things on the platform that pass it off to the project manager. But to answer your question, yes, we're setting it up to do that.
No, and that's awesome. And anybody who has not looked into Workglue, super impressive. What you're doing with that is just It's so impressive that you can do what you do and still have time to create something like that. So I would just say that John, you introduced me to it in the last year or two, and it's super impressive, and I would definitely take the time to look into it if you guys haven't. So Eddie Gonzalez is asking, would you associate a cost to get a new guy up to speed, kind of like a cost of training? So I know that we're knee deep in hourly budgets in my company. My people love them. They love beating them. We throw a new guy at it, and they're very conscious about the budgets now. How do you deal with training hours on budgets?
I'm not very good at it. That's an area that it's an area I need to work on, and I don't fully always communicate the production hours. It depends on the job, because sometimes we go into a lot of unknowns for the type of work we do, and I know a lot of res repaints are pretty easy to produce the hours, but we go into a lot of like, hey, this is our guesstimate, and then it's a budget range that we do projects with. So
Yep.
for me to I typically give them the lower end, and then as we get close to that, if they're freaking out a little bit, I'll give them a, hey, by the way, we have some fluff in there. So it's a massage thing, and every project is different, and every personality out there in the field running jobs is different. So it's not it's not black and white.
It's tough, yeah. And you don't want to start modifying budgets and give people the wrong idea, like, hey, this is how a training budget feels, because you don't want them to get used to it. But at the same time, if you throw a bunch of new people at them and they don't meet any budgets for 2 to 3 weeks, they're starting to sob a little bit and they get real sad. And it's like so I don't know. I've not found a good way to deal with it, except that don't worry about the budget. We know we're going to go over. Try to keep it to this much, and that's about the best I can muster.
Yeah, one thing we also have been successful with is communicating to our crew leaders, to the second, third guy that's on the job, the apprentices, to say, hey, so when you paint this wall, I'm going to be around the corner getting the other side going, but when you're here, you should finish this in an hour and a half. So they have some sense of, okay, I know where I need to be. I need to pick it up, or something's going on. I need to ask some questions.
So I can't let it go any farther, John. Mike Danahy asked, you have the cleanest stock room ever. Do you buy in bulk? Do you think you save by buying in bulk if you do? And what are your thoughts on having a fully stocked room? Is there somebody, do you have a shop person to maintain it? This is beautiful behind you, by the way.
We are extremely organized, and my father runs the operations with also another guy. And I'm impressed by my father by this. So I don't know if I'll ever own up to his standards, but this right here is just the extras that come in. So these are the spackles, the bondos and such. We have tints, old roller covers. We actually wash all that.
Nice.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm still there. Sorry, a phone call came in.
Okay. Inside our stock room, yes, to answer your question, we buy in bulk. And as you can see here, we have caulking below. I don't know if you can see all that. All of our roller covers, we buy everything bulk. All of our sanders, brushes, we buy in all bulk. It's all labeled here. I don't need to go through my whole shop, but my point is yes, we buy in bulk, and every time we go out to a job, we're going to talk sundries on this call, I believe, correct?
Yep. So, and one of the biggest questions is, a lot of guys, you can look at buying in bulk in a couple ways. Do you do it to save money, or do you do it for the convenience of always having stuff you need?
Well, really, the answer to that is both, because you have it on stock. You load a project, and it's all here in-house. And when you buy in bulk, you also save money. So you save money on both sides. You save money on the bulk side of it by purchasing it ahead of time. We typically buy in like $10,000 to $15,000 increments for sundries. Yep. And you save on the other end by efficiency. So our guys are not allowed to go to the paint store. No one goes to the paint store. We have everything in stock. and every job gets assigned one of the, we call it a blue box. It's basically a 3x4 little Rubbermaid bin, and every exterior job has a list, and when jobs get packed, they pull from the sundry room and assign each thing, like 3 roller covers, 4 rolls of tape, simple things like that. But everyone gets assigned with the list, and they go out to the project, so it stays pretty efficient.
Oh, that's awesome. And then, like you said, there was that shelf behind you. If you got extras coming back, the extras go back on the shelf for next time and rock and roll.
Yeah, we reuse as much as we can, I think we also save a little bit of money there as well versus just throw everything away.
Yeah, I found that, I've sat down and tried to do all the calculations of, yes, you can save a little now by buying this and that. But for me, in the past, it's really been like the cost of one person to go to the paint store is so great that it's almost easier. Who cares if everything was retail price, just to have it in your shop so that you can, like you said, you got this job coming up, stock up the van and head out. And yeah, for me, it's more of a convenience thing. I don't know that it's a major, money saver at the end of the year, but if you take out all the paint store visits, it is definitely a saver.
So on that, Nick, a lot of people think, we talk to other business owners, people think we are crazy the way that we run our business. In fact, the reason of, we have all 30 guys come to our shop almost every single day. They come to the shop, they clock in. I make sure, I like to have them come to the shop instead of going straight to the job, because I see who's on time. I see them show up. And you talk about improving efficiency to where I don't have to 3 or 4 people driving material all around. We require our crew leaders to submit their orders for the next day if they need extra sundries or paint or whatever. It's stocked and ready to go that night for the next day. So when they come to the shop, it is, here you go, here you go, here you go. Let's go. We're out.
So it's almost just they're checking in, grabbing a resupply.
They're grabbing a resupply, and they're also checking in with us, so we don't have to go out to the job site on every single one. We get an update on how the project's going. We see their dress. I mean, simple things of like, hey, you need a new shirt. You look like crap. Here's a new shirt. Simple things like that make us help us stand out above others. And I don't want to sound arrogant in that way, but I think it's the truth.
No, that's huge. And I love that because, yes, people will probably on the outset, the knee-jerk reaction, well, it's crazy to have all those people drive in at once. But when you consider that if it saves you a half a day every day of driving around to these job sites and physically checking all this, then yeah, that's a huge time and money saver to have everybody come to you to do your daily checks versus you drive around to them.
It's expensive. I mean, we lose a half-hour production per guy every day. So, but I think we save it in the long run in terms of communication.
That's true. That's true. So let me see if we got any other questions. I think I've got through most of the questions here. I think there was one other one. People were asking how long to bring people up to speed. We've kind of covered that. Derek Ansem, where have you found success finding the right type of unskilled potential painters? So where do you, we kind of have the same thing where we're kind of looking for people that are malleable. Where do you find these malleable people, John?
It's been a struggle, and I think it's across the industry. I mean, I go to a lot of PDCA events nationally, and as you do as well. And I mean, it's an industry-wide. It's out, even every industry is facing that. I've been most successful out of restaurants, people that are bussing tables and such. That's where I've been most successful. We also have a referral program, like a lot of people do. So we give, if anyone brings in and recommends someone, and they get them in the door. After they've been here for 90 days, we give them a $500 bonus.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. And of the people who, oh, absolutely. And recruiting the right way is expensive too. So John, what else? I just
want to show you one thing.
I was going to say, this is whatever else is on your mind here.
This is my dad's crazy organization here. He organized all the power washers, all the sprayers. All of them are marked. He marks out every time a sprayer comes back. We mark how many gallons it went through it, if it was latex or oil. And then all of our power washers get marked on hours used.
Holy
And
cow.
yeah, we're pretty efficient in terms of our equipment and asset tracking. So there's all of our ladders get start. I'm kind of doing a
Wow.
shop tour for you here, but we got
I
this
love
door
it. I love
project
it.
going right now.
That's awesome.
Um, anyways, I don't need to go in for a full shop tour. People are probably like, "Hey, bud, quit the shop tour.
You'd be
Let's get
surprised. You'd
on."
be surprised. That might be the most interesting thing you could show us today. So, John, what else is on
So,
your mind?
well,
Anything
okay.
else you want to cover before we kind of call her quits on this Friday?
The only thing I would like to put out there, I think, is people that aren't in the PDCA. I think there's a lot of resources. This is a PDCA plug that we got the National Expo coming up. Nick, you're highly involved. You got your tour coming up. There's a lot of good resources there. We've actually, a lot of these systems I've learned from bits and pieces from other painters in the industry, and I learned them at PDCA conferences. So I think there's a lot of good takeaways, and people should definitely look into PDCA.
I couldn't agree more. And it was at a PDCA function probably 2 or 3 years ago that I met you, and you and all the other people I've met there have been a real big inspiration for me, especially for somebody who hasn't been connected with other painters. So that you would take all that time with me at these PDCA functions when you probably have better things to do to explain a lot of industry things to me. I really appreciate it. My business has grown because of it. So personally, thank you. But likewise, extend it to everybody else out there. Like if you want to improve your business, there's no better place to do it than find people like John who are way better at it than you and talk to them about it. And John will freely share a lot of great wisdom learned over the years, especially with the generational wisdom that you guys have in your company.
Yeah, I'm pretty spoiled with that. But I also get things out of other people at the conferences that are much larger than I am and have way better systems than I do. And, one thing to be on the Workglue side, I get to talk to all these different business owners and painting contractors of how they run their business of all different sizes. And I get to learn all that and absorb it, not just for Workglue, but for my own painting company. It's been incredible how much I've learned. So. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you for having me on the show. I appreciate all your sharing that you do for the way you share your company. You put it out there, and I need to steal some tricks from you on how to get some more millennials in my door.
Done. We'll talk. John, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on. Everybody check out Workglue. I'm sure, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, John?
You can get a hold of me at support@workglue.com. You can always go to workglue.com and go there. If you have a painting question or anything like that, you can email me, John, John, at bobkunstpainting.com.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being on here. Everybody go check out Workglue. It's an amazing platform. It's a super powerful tool for your business. Check out the PDCA, which John and I are big fans of, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America. Thank you to them for underwriting this. Also, thank you to them for sending in the contractor question of the week and putting me in connection with guys like John. And my Northeast tour coming up shortly. So I'm leaving Sunday night, 4 states, Northeast. If you guys, you're going to see lots of stuff on social media. If you see me in your neck of the woods, let me know and we'll get together up there. It's going to be a blast. So John, thanks again for taking time for us.
Thank you. See you all.
Have a good